Here's a map showing Iceland, a sparsely populated island country in the far northwest of Europe. The Greenland Sea and the Atlantic Ocean border it. The island nation is more than twice the size of Denmark, or almost the same size as the state of Kentucky in the United States, but only about 20% of the nation is habitable. That is why the nation was initially called Snowland Sneeland. Iceland boasts extraordinary landscapes and is rich in natural resources such as fish, diatomite, and fuel for geothermal power and hydropower. However, it has some unusual natural endowments that make it even extra special. Keep watching as we unveil 15 terrifying new discoveries in Iceland that change everything. Number 15. The mysterious Viking-era caves. This was where the first Vikings were believed to have settled in the East Fjords. These interconnected caves were built between the years 800 and 1060 during the Viking era. They were uncovered following a series of excavations that have been ongoing since 2020. The man-made caves are so massive that no structures ever discovered, at least not in Iceland, beat them. The first of these man-made caves were discovered near Oddi in South Iceland in 2018. According to some excavation reports, the cave at Oddi was first dug out in the middle of the 10th century. Further site investigations revealed the possibility of a much larger cave connected to the first. Archaeologists believe that the newly discovered caves could have been a stall used for keeping livestock, cattle, and horses during the medieval era. Such caves are mentioned in Bishop Paulaker's Legends of Saints between AD 1210 and 1250. Though excavations at the discovery site were slow and hazardous, as the caves were cut from soft and porous sandstone, the discovery bears some precious artifacts and data for further research. Chris Borg and her team are still tirelessly exploring these caves to discover their deepest secrets. Let's hope they don't piss off Ragnarok in the process. Number 14. The submerged continent. This is the discovery of a secret continent submerged beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The sunken continent is known as Icelandia. An international team of geologists unveiled it, and their story has changed many old theories about the oceanic and continental plates of the Atlantic region. It has also changed what we know about the formation of volcanic islands, especially those in Iceland. According to Professor Fulger, a world-leading geologist, the discovery of Icelandia opens up a completely new view of our geological understanding of the world. He added that they could eventually see maps of our oceans and seas being redrawn. This, of course, will impact our understanding of what lies beneath. The research team that made the discovery is now collaborating with scientists worldwide to carry out electrical conductivity surveys and collect zircon crystals in Iceland for laboratory observations. Iceland is believed to cover an expansive area of over 1 million square kilometers, including the neighboring regions west of Britain. Scientists believe that the island could extend from Greenland to Europe. If accurate, then the supercontinent of Pangaea that existed about 360 million years ago, before the current separation of continents did not completely disintegrate. Rather, part of it got stretched out. Do you believe this? Let us know in the comments. At number 13 is the horse-shaped canyon known as Ásbyrgi Canyon. This is a unique place with interesting geology and geography. Popular myths have it that Ásbyrgi Canyon is the true capital of the elves. By the way, elves are hidden people that live in rocks, mounds, and hills. According to scientists, Ásbyrgi was created due to catastrophic flooding occasioned by the eruption of one subglacial volcano below the Vatnajökull ice cap. The Ásbyrgi Canyon is full of life with plenty of flora and fauna to feed your eyes on. Your visit to Iceland would be incomplete without exploring this canyon, otherwise referred to as the Shelter of the Gods. This name definitely helps to increase its magical aura. Ásbyrgi Canyon is a spectacular hidden gem of North Iceland. It is deeply etched in the history of Iceland, majorly because it touches ancient folklore. History has it that the hoofprint of the canyon was formed by Sleipnir, Odin's eight-legged flying horse from Norse mythology. Whether this is right or not, the reality is that the canyon is a marvel to behold. You may want to hike to the end of it to see the peaceful pond there, which is surrounded by birds. And although the canyon shares some similarities with the Viking story, the latter is more mysterious. Number 12. The Fagradalsfjall volcano. This is one volcanic eruption that brought researchers closer to Earth's core. After 781 years of dormancy, the restrained Fagradalsfjall volcano went off in 2021. It would continue over the course of 6 months. The viscous creep of flame was so appealing that tourists and locals couldn't help but take some pictures of the red bursts. Scientists, in a bid to know what was happening underneath the surface, scooped up a bit of lava from the site and sent some samples to labs for testing. The result was unexpected. The lava flow was full of crystals. In composition, the lava was revealed to emanate from a deep reservoir of magma rather than a shallow reservoir in the Earth's crust. Hence, the eruption could be described as amazing for the geosciences community. The volcanic eruption was preceded by a magnitude 5.7 earthquake, one which also stirred many people in parts of Iceland. And since the volcano erupted, it's been regarded as a tourist eruption. Tourist eruption is a term for minor eruptions that can be easily accessed. This is different from the usual response to the eruption of a volcano, which is to get as far away as possible. The site is pretty safe as long as the hot lava and gas are avoided. And number 11 is the geothermal wonder in southwestern Iceland, known for its otherworldly turquoise glow, the Blue Lagoon. It's an alchemical mix of fresh water and seawater forged in extreme heat and pressure and infused with mineral-rich compounds. This body of water is so fascinating that people from all over the world submerge themselves in its healing elixir. The Blue Lagoon was created accidentally by the condensed discharge from a geothermal power plant. People have always heated their houses with geothermal sources, and the geothermal energy power plant was considered for building a geothermal heating plant. This was successfully done. But rather than the water disappearing into the permeable lava field, sedimentation gradually made the coarse lava field watertight, such that the lagoon kept expanding. This attracted a lot of locals and visitors, and people started bathing in it, with others with skin diseases such as psoriasis getting healed. And here is the secret behind the invigorating effect of the body of water. The ecosystem of the Blue Lagoon produces silica and microalgae, both of which are full of nutrients that produce restorative effects. When words of the beneficial effects of the lagoon spread across Iceland, the first scientists arrived to carry out formal research on the water in 1987. In 2012, the Blue Lagoon was chosen as one of National Geographic's 25 wonders. At number 10 is Iceland's mesmerizing Strokka geyser. You may be forced to ask, what is mesmerizing about the geyser? So here is a brief history of Strokka geyser. The first known eruption of Strokka geyser was in 1789. It erupted frequently and had a force that reached up to 196 feet high. In the wake of the 20th century, a huge earthquake blocked the water channels, leaving the geyser dormant. However, in 1963, humans intervened. On the advice of the scientific community, the local government unblocked the geyser, making it erupt every 5 to 10 minutes and reach as high as 130 feet 40 meters. This continues to provide naturally occurring sites for locals and tourists. The regular eruptions of the geyser are not expected to stop anytime soon. Strokka derives its name from an instrument that is used for churning butter. This is the science behind the eruption. There is an active geothermal area with an underground plumbing system at the site. Pressure builds up when water comes into contact with hot bedrock. It then heats up, and what we have is a beautiful eruption. And what's more, this geyser lacks the overwhelming smell of sulfur that is common in most geothermal areas. Number 9. The Skógafoss Waterfall. This is a mighty and impressive waterfall on the southern coast of Iceland. Standing at 60 meters high and 25 meters wide, Skógafoss Waterfall never ceases to intrigue its visitors, and the reason is simple. When the weather is good on a sunny day, one can see the rainbows beautifying the waterfall, making the scene more incredible. Of all the waterfalls in Iceland, Skógafoss is unique, and this is because it comes directly from 2 glaciers. Climbing to the top of the waterfall will give you an awe-inspiring view of South Iceland's coastline. Another interesting fact about the fall is the water that holds a large salmon and char population. It is common to see fishermen fishing in the river between July and October. There is a legend about the Skógafoss waterfall. The belief is that there is a chest filled with gold and treasures behind it. The chest, whose only one side could be seen protruding from the waterfall, was allegedly hidden by Prasi Perolfsson, the Viking settler at Skóga some 900 years ago. He claimed that the first man to go to the fall would find incredible treasures. 3 men had attempted to retrieve the chest, but all they could pull was the ring. They subsequently left the chest behind. At number 8 is the discovery of an enormous ice cave. The ice cave at an elevation of 800 meters (2,600 feet) was discovered on the east side of the Langakuch Glacier in 2021. The cave is unusual because it's too large and deep for headlights. This made the tour operators design and install lighting. The cave's dome is magnificent, such that walking through the hallway leads to some sort of balcony. The inside of the cave is on 2 levels, one of which can be easily accessed while the other is less accessible. The ceiling is high and at the same time colorful. John Christin, the co-owner and managing director of Amazing Tours, said it's the largest cave he had seen in his 12-year journey as a guide. The ice cave eventually became a tourism center. While most ice caves are built to form and disappear within short periods, the cave lasts for the next 3 winters. The cave was neither created nor owned by any individual or company. However, it is recommended that any visitor that intends to go there should go with a guide. This is because glaciers are notoriously dangerous. And number 7 is the discovery of some unusual plant fossils. They're mysterious because the plants are trapped between lava layers. How did these plants find their way to the island? Many people have questioned how the plants found their way to an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean because it's almost impossible to have plants materialize on the island. Layers of the plant, specifically lignite, were found in 6 different sedimentary units along the coast of Ireland. The lignite beds consist of about 40 flowering plants, 7 conifers, and 4 ferns and fern allies. We could find many plant fossils in North America and Europe at the same geological level. Scientists revealed how plants making up lignite beds grew in the same place they were buried, but in this case, the plants were instead sealed off and preserved by lava flows. But back to the question of how the plants found their way to the island. Firstly, there needed to be evidence that the plants actually grew in Iceland. Also, no sunken volcanoes provide an island pathway for the plants. Some scientists claimed stepping stone could be used to explain the presence of the plant species, but there is little evidence to support the existence of necessary closely spaced islands. Thus, we can conclude that there is not enough evidence concerning how the plants got to the island in the first place. And number 6 is the discovery of a region of cooling water in the North Atlantic Ocean near Iceland. The cooling water, nicknamed the Blue Blob, has slowed the melting rate of the glaciers on the island since 2011 by up to 50%, and it doesn't stop there. According to new research, it may continue to stymie ice loss until about 2050. Cool water in the North Atlantic offers a temporary respite for glaciers in Iceland. Between 1995 and 2010, Iceland's glaciers lost an average of 11 gigatons of ice in each of those years. A gigaton equals a cubic kilometer of water. Research indicated that the Blue Blob is part of the normal sea surface temperature variability in the Arctic. Unless the warming is curbed, it might not be possible to see glaciers in Iceland again. The Blue Blob could be considered an anomaly in an otherwise warming ocean. Research indicates that it may only be around for a few decades before the overall warming trend takes over again. This is contained in a statement by Bryce Noel, a climate modeler at Utrecht University. He said, "Even though this Blue Blob seems good news for the glaciers, it's only temporary. And this is the same for small glaciers across the globe. In addition, the loss of the glaciers will make the sea level rise by at least 3 millimeters by the end of the century, although it is not felt in nearby Greenland." And number 5 is the discovery of a small asteroid designated as 2022 EB5. The asteroid, whose size was estimated at 3 to 4 meters wide, was discovered by Hungarian astronomer Christian Czarnecki on March 11, 2022 with the aid of a 60-centimeter telescope. This discovery is unlike other discoveries of thousands of small bodies similar to 2022 EB5. Firstly, it wouldn't have caused any damage if it hit the planet. Secondly, a report indicated that the object was likely moving at a pace of about 11 miles per second, 18.5 kilometers per second. It further said that the flight of the object should have caused all or part of it to vaporize, and it will only cause a bright meteor or shooting star impact. This bright meteor is commonly referred to as a fireball. After the discovery, Czarnecki calculated that the asteroid would fly through the Earth's atmosphere in just 2 hours. And he was right. However, the Heavenly Wanderer completely collapsed at high altitude. This is a result of its small size. Though the asteroid caused no casualties or destruction, it became the fifth asteroid whose fall was accurately predicted before striking the planet, after 2014 AA, 2018 LA, 2008 TC3, and 2019 MO. At number 4 is the Hatch-Munterun lava field, a basalt dark unbroken basaltic lava located slightly west of Longakutch Glacier, the second largest glacier in Iceland. The lava field has wonderful formations, frozen ripples, and crevices with many caves. The ancient lava Hatch-Munterun derives its name from a cave-dwelling giant. The giant was mentioned in the book Saga of Grettish the Strong. The Hatch-Munterun lava field could be traced to the earliest settlement of Iceland in the 10th century around 940 AD. The lava flowed from craters beneath the Longakutch, and the eruption lasted for several years. Uncovered in the east fjords of Iceland, the site is situated in a valley and is riven with lava tubes which form when fresh molten rock flows through an existing field of cooled lava. The ceilings of some of the tunnels would collapse to form caves. Landslides from the high slopes and tephra from volcanic eruptions have protected archaeological materials discovered from the field. The materials that went under the lava include human remains, the bones of a horse, a boat, a spear, jewelry, and a bead. These artifacts were reported to date back to AD 940 to 1100. Number 3 is the discovery of an ocean current called the North Icelandic Jet, NIJ, in 2004. For your information, NIJ is a deep ocean circulation system that could significantly influence how the ocean responds to climate change. For years, the primary source of the Denmark overflow plumes feeding the lower limb of the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC, was a current adjacent to Greenland known as the East Greenland Current. The NIJ is deep and narrow, about 12 miles wide, and can convey more than 1 million cubic meters of warm water per second to high latitudes where the water warms the air, cools, sinks, and then returns toward the equator as a deep cold water flow. With the discovery of the deep current flowing southward along the continental slope of Iceland, a team of researchers confirmed that the NIJ is the primary source of the densest overflow water and a major contributor to the conveyor belt. Thus, the discovery will help to ascertain how global ocean circulation will respond to future climate change. As long as the North Icelandic Jet contributes to the overall ocean flow, the Northern Hemisphere is not close to becoming colder in the future. And number 2 is a lake hidden under an Icelandic glacier far from the sun. The lake, known as Skaftárkatla, lies beneath an ice sheet 300 meters thick with waters that have never been exposed to the atmosphere. As a result, it's become one of the best places to study how life evolves in the isolation of a subterranean ocean. So far, 10 samples have been taken from the lake beneath the glacier over the last decade. Before taking the samples, hot water was pumped to melt the ice in a column. Then the team sent a sampler to the bottom collecting small volumes of sulfur-rich water. This research is based on the revelation that Saturn's moon Enceladus has a hidden ocean beneath its icy structure. At the lake, there was evidence of new strains of bacteria, which had been said to be completely new to science because there was no prior knowledge about them. Meanwhile, NASA's Cassini spacecraft already detected organic molecules above the surface of Enceladus, one of Saturn's icy moons. This will contribute more base reference points for future research for space missions. And number 1 is the discovery of a stunning new hydrothermal vent on Reykjanes Ridge, the northernmost extension of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. The hydrothermal vents, previously unknown, are the second vent field to have been discovered on the northern part of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge between the Charlie Gibbs Fracture Zone and Iceland. Located some 700 meters deep, the vent chimneys churn out 300 degrees Celsius mineralized fluids deep in the ocean crust. The vent can develop large structures similar to those of chimneys and become home to special ecosystems inhabited by animals that thrive on hot temperatures. During the site's exploration, the scientists were treated to some spectacular sights, from the rainbow colors of the cold water coral reefs to the murky depths of the deep Norwegian basin. Therefore, the newly discovered hydrothermal vent will help scientists investigate how highly specialized fauna living on and around the vent chimneys interact with other ecosystems on the ridge's surrounding slopes. And apart from its beautiful and unspoiled nature, Iceland is known for certain feats that the citizens are always proud to discuss. For instance, many of us have been told that Christopher Columbus discovered America. This is erroneous, though. It's been reported that the Icelandic explorer Leifur Eriksson, popularly called Leif the Lucky, sailed to the Americas and engaged in trade. This was around 500 years earlier than Columbus's discovery in 1492. And to this day, several other terrifying discoveries are still being made by scientists in Iceland. As you'd expect, these discoveries were part of Iceland's long and complex history. Which of the discoveries we discussed today do you find most intriguing?